morning, children. How are you all? Look at this picture. It seems to be very, very frightening. And the name of the animal is chameleon. And this animal can change its colors even. हिंदी में आपने सुना होगा गिरगिट. It's one and the same thing. गिरगिट को देख के रंग बदलना, गिरगिट का रंग बदलना, that you have learned in Hindi books. So let's study about this animal, an interesting story. Let's start with our unit 3, section 1. Henry a Chameleon. Henry a Chameleon is being written by Ruskin Bond, the famous writer, and he is a very nice writer, and usually he writes a beautiful writings. So let's start with it. This is a story of Henry, our pet chameleon. Chameleon, I have told you, the lizard that moves independently and that can change its color. Chameleons are in a class by themselves and are no ordinary reptiles. Reptiles, you know, जो रेंगते हैं, these are that animals are known as reptiles, like snakes and lizards and all. So they are one of them, and they are easily distinguished. Distinguished means to differentiate from their nearest relatives. Nearest relatives, who are they? They are the lizards, by certain outstanding features. A chameleon tongue is as long as its body. Please do search about chameleon on a net even, so that you should able to know more about it. And the chameleon's tongue is as long as its body. All right, and its limbs are long and slender, and its fingers and toes resemble a parrot's claws. Parrot's claws means parrot's feet, like they are similar to its limbs and to its fingers and toes. On its head may be any of the several ornaments. Ornaments means like those of, like small parrots that have a long tails. Parakeets are known as that, and the ornaments are that they have on their head. Parakeets, they have on their heads, and the roosters, that is an adult male chicken, they do have on their heads. So Henry had a rigid crest that looked like a fireman's helmet. Henry was having a rigid crest, like there was a rigid means it was a tough skin that looks like a helmet. Henry's eyes were his most remarkable feature. Henry's eyes were the most remarkable. Why? Because they were most attractive, and they were not beautiful, they were just attractive. Why they were attractive? Because people used to get scared when we see in his eyes. They were not beautiful, but his left eye was quite independent of his right. His left eye, the feature, this is a very unique feature that chameleon has. His both eyes can move oppositely. Like, it's not like humans that when we see anything, our both eyes used to watch over there. But in chameleons, left eye is independent of his right eye. He could move one eye without disturbing the other, and each eyeball, bulging out of his head, wobbled side to side, backward and forward. Bulging out means it seems to be like eyeball is being swelled up, and it moves side to side, up and down like this. This frenzied movement, frenzied means hyperactive movement. It is called as a hyperactive movement, and it gives Henry a horrible squint. Horrible squint means when somebody looks with the eyes that are partly closed. And one look into Henry's frightful glaze means to look steadily, to stare, was often enough to scare people into believing that chameleons are dangerous and poisonous reptiles. The way of looking of chameleons, it makes everybody believe that chameleons are very dangerous and they are very poisonous. One day, a grandfather was visiting a friend when he came upon a noisy scene at the garden gate. Men were shouting, hurling stones and brandishing the sticks. One day, grandfather was visiting his friend, and he heard some noises from the garden gate, where the men were shouting, and they were having stones in their hand that they were throwing, and they were having sticks that they were waving. The cause of uproar was a chameleon that had been discovered sunning itself on the shrub. Why there was so much sound? Because the chameleon was sitting on the shrub, and someone claimed that chameleon could poison people 20 feet away simply by spitting at them. uh, Among the crowd, someone claimed that if chameleon spit 20 feet away, he could poison everyone. He could poison that person on whom he spits. The residents of the area, they had protested against this because they don't want that chameleon should stay here. Grandfather was there in time in order to save the chameleon from certain death. He brought a little reptile home. That chameleon was Henry, and that how he came to live with us. When I first visited Henry, he would treat me with a great caution, sitting still on his perch, that is on the pole or a stick or whatever they were using to make him comfortable, with his back to me. And he said, the writer is saying that when I first visited Henry, when I first went to meet Henry, he was treating me with a great caution. He was treating me with the great caution, means that he was very much what we say, that when we are very much cautious to someone, that somebody is sitting near us, and we are so much protective against it, that that person should not be allowed to touch or anything like that. And he was sitting on his perch only, and the eye nearer to me would move around like the beam of a searchlight until it had me well in focus. And his eyes were that nearer to him was moving like a searchlights, like the beams of the searchlight, and they were moving like so that they should have a focus on it. Then it would stop. After having a focus, it would stop, and the other eye would begin an independent survey of its own. For a long time, Henry trusted no one and responded to my friendliest gestures with the greatest suspicion. So, writer is saying that for the long time, Henry did not trusted the chameleon, did not trusted anyone, and he did not responded his friendliest gestures in a friendly manner. And the Henry was still in the suspicion that how he should give a response to it. Tiring of his very attitude, the cautious attitude, I would tickle him gently in his ribs with my finger. So he started tickling him in his ribs with his finger, and this always threw him into a great rage. Rest we'll do in the next class. Please make sure whenever you read the chapter, whenever you go through it, make sure that you use dictionary also. All right. Please go through it, then we'll speak about it later. Thank you.